In the vast, intricate tapestry of human existence, certain threads shimmer with a story so profound they demand to be traced. These are not always tales of kings or conquests, but of ordinary people thrust into extraordinary circumstances. They are stories of love that refuses to yield, of hope that burns like a steadfast lighthouse in the deepest, most suffocating fog of despair. This is one such story. A story that begins with a single, fleeting moment of distraction, the kind that happens to any parent, anywhere, and spirals into a 3-decade odyssey across a nation, a testament to the unbreakable bond between a mother and her lost child. This is the story of Mao Yin, and the 32-year echo of his absence. Our story begins on October 17, 1988, in the ancient and bustling city of Xi'an, home to the famed Terracotta Army. For Mao Zhenjing and his wife, Li Jingzhi, it was a day like any other, filled with the simple joys of raising their bright and lively 2-year-old son, Mao Yin, whom they affectionately called Jia. As Mao Zhenjing walked home from the nursery with little Jia, the crisp autumn air filled the streets. The little boy, parched from his day of play, tugged on his father's hand and asked for a drink of water. Seeking to quench his son's thirst, Mao Zhenjing stopped at the entrance of the Grueling Hotel, a familiar landmark. He ducked inside for just a moment to get a cup of water from a dispenser. Noticing the water was too hot for a small child, he turned his back for a brief moment, perhaps only a minute or two, to let it cool. It was a simple, loving, paternal act. A moment of quiet care. But in that sliver of time, the world shifted on its axis. When Mao Zhenjing turned back, the spot where his son stood was empty. Jia was gone. A cold, sharp panic sliced through Mao Zhenjing. He called out his son's name. Jia! Jia! The name echoed back, unanswered, swallowed by the noise of the city. He frantically scanned the street, his heart hammering against his ribs. Passers-by glanced at the distressed man, but no one had seen anything. The initial thought, that his son had simply wandered off, quickly curdled into a far more sinister and terrifying realization. His son hadn't just wandered. He had vanished. He had been taken. When the news reached Li Jingzhi, her world didn't just crumble, it atomized. The vibrant colors of her life turned to ash. But in the smoldering ruins of her reality, something new was forged, an unshakable, unbreakable vow. Li Jingzhi made a decision that would define the rest of her life. She resigned from her managerial position, abandoning her career and any semblance of a normal life. From that moment forward, she had only one job, one singular, all-consuming mission: to find her son. The early years of the search were a grueling marathon of desperation. Li Jingzhi and her husband printed over 100,000 flyers bearing their son's baby picture. They became nomads in their own country, traveling to more than 10 provinces, from the dense urban centers to remote rural villages. Every bus station, every train station, every town square became a potential ground zero. They handed flyers to strangers, their faces etched with a plea that transcended language, their hands trembling as they passed on the fading image of their stolen child. The psychological toll was immense. Their search was a relentless cycle of hope and heartbreak. Over the years, they followed more than 300 false leads. Each tip, each whispered rumor, sent a surge of adrenaline and hope through their veins. They would travel hundreds, sometimes thousands, of kilometers, only to be met with another dead end, another case of mistaken identity, another child who was not theirs. One particular lead took them to a rural town where a boy matched Jia's description. They endured an agonizing wait for a DNA test, their hearts suspended between a miracle and devastation. The result was negative. The fall back to earth was brutal, but even then, Li Jingzhi refused to surrender. As the years bled into a decade, and then too, Li Jingzhi's personal quest morphed into a public crusade. She became a reluctant but powerful media figure, appearing on numerous television programs across China, including high-profile shows like The X Factor China. She stood before millions, not as a victim, but as a warrior, her voice steady as she recounted her story, her eyes pleading with the nation. Her face became a symbol of the silent epidemic of child abduction in China, a familiar, heartbreaking image in households across the country. A significant turning point came in 2007. After nearly 2 decades of searching alone, Li Jingzhi discovered Baby Come Home, Bao Beihuijia, a burgeoning online platform and volunteer organization dedicated to reuniting abducted children with their families. It was a revelation. She was not alone. There were thousands of others like her, caught in the same agonizing limbo. Joining the group gave her a new community and new tools for her search. Li Jingzhi poured her soul into the organization, transforming her personal pain into a powerful engine for change. She became one of its most dedicated volunteers, meticulously documenting cases, counseling other parents, and acting as a vital liaison with the police. She learned to navigate the internet, a new frontier in the search for the missing. Her personal tragedy had given her a unique and profound empathy, making her a beacon of hope for families drowning in the same despair she knew so well. In one of history's most profound and bittersweet ironies, Li Jingzhi, the mother who could not find her own son, became a hero to others. Through her tireless work with Baby Come Home, she directly contributed to the successful reunion of 29 other families. Imagine the complex storm of emotions with each reunion she facilitated. The pure joy for the happy family, mixed with the sharp, stabbing pain of her own continued loss. Each child she helped home was a victory, but also a reminder that her own Jia was still out there. As the world hurtled towards the 2020s, 32 years had passed. An entire generation had been born and grown to adulthood. The baby in the photograph would now be a man in his mid-30s. The paper flyers had yellowed and disintegrated. Yet Li Jingzhi's hope, though weathered and scarred, remained. She had adapted, moving her search onto social media, her resolve as steely as it was on the day she first made her vow. Far away from the relentless search that defined his parents' lives, Mao Yin was living as Ningning. He had been sold by the traffickers for 6,000 yuan, a pittance, an insult, to a kind, childless couple in the neighboring province of Sichuan. They loved him and raised him as their own, never telling him of his true origins. He grew up in the city of Ningning, over 600 miles from his hometown of Xi'an. Ningning's life was unremarkable in its normality. He went to school, made friends, and eventually started his own successful home decoration business. He was a well-adjusted man, content with his life, with no memory of his first 2 years, no inkling of the seismic loss that his existence represented. The past was not a ghost that haunted him, it was a book he never knew existed. In a moment of almost unbelievable coincidence, Ningning had, on several occasions, seen his biological mother on television. He watched Li Jingzhi's interviews, saw the pain and determination in her eyes, and felt a pang of sympathy for this dedicated woman searching for her son. He thought to himself what a terrible fate she had suffered, never once imagining that he was the very boy at the center of her 3-decade-long vigil. He was a spectator to his own story. Then, in April of 2020, a faint signal emerged from the noise. A tip came into the Xi'an police department. The source claimed that a man in Sichuan had purchased a child from Xi'an many years prior. It was a vague lead, similar to hundreds of others that had led nowhere. But this time, the police had a new weapon in their arsenal. Investigators took the best quality childhood photo of Mao Yin they could find. They fed it into a sophisticated facial recognition system, but with a crucial new step, they employed cutting-edge AI-powered age progression technology. The software analyzed the bone structure and features of the toddler's face and generated a simulation, a digital ghost, of what Mao Yin might look like as a 34-year-old man. They ran this newly generated face against a massive national citizen database, a digital dragnet containing billions of images. The algorithm churned through the data, comparing the simulated face to millions of real ones. And then it happened. A high-probability match was flagged. The system pointed to a man named Ningning from Ningning, Sichuan. The resemblance was uncanny. Police investigators traveled quietly to Ningning. They located Ningning, the owner of a local home decoration business. They approached him cautiously, explaining the incredible situation. He was, understandably, in disbelief. His entire life, his identity, was being called into question. Yet, moved by the story and the possibility, he agreed to provide a blood sample for a DNA test. The sample was rushed to a lab. For Jingzhi and Mao Zhenjing, this was the culmination of 11,680 days of waiting. Every false dawn, every crushing disappointment, every flicker of hope had led to this moment. Was this it? Could this single test finally end their long, cold winter and bring their son home? The silence of waiting was deafening. On May 10, 2020, Mother's Day in China, the phone rang. It was the Xi'an police. Jingzhi answered, her hand trembling. The words she heard were the ones she had prayed for every day for 32 years. We found him. The DNA is a match. Jingzhi collapsed in tears, a torrent of grief, relief, and unimaginable joy washing over her. This, she wept, is the best gift I have ever received on Mother's Day. 8 days later, on May 18th, the Xi'an Police Department organized a press conference. The event was broadcast live across the nation. The country that had followed Jingzhi's search for decades was now invited to witness its conclusion. Jingzhi and Mao Zhenjing stood on a stage, their faces a canvas of nervous anticipation and raw emotion, waiting to see the man their son had become. A door opened, and he walked in. Taller, older, a stranger, yet instantly familiar. Mao Yin, the man who had been Ningning, looked at the weeping woman before him and ran. He threw himself into his mother's arms, and she cried out, her voice breaking with the weight of 32 years. I don't want to be separated from him any more. The embrace was a collision of past and present, a family broken by a moment's cruelty, now made whole by a lifetime of love. Clutching his parents' hands, Mao Yin, Jia, spoke to the crowd and to the nation. He thanked the police and the volunteers. He spoke of the strangeness of his situation, but also of the profound sense of homecoming. He made a promise that the crowd, and his parents, longed to hear. He would move back to Xi'an to be with them, to learn the family he never knew, and to begin the rest of their lives together. The story of Mao Yin is a story of profound tragedy, but it is also a story of a triumph of the human spirit. It is a testament to a mother's love, so fierce and so absolute that it could bend time and bridge an impossible distance. It is also a modern fable about technology, which, in a world of surveillance and uncertainty, can sometimes become an instrument of miracles. For the archives of the lost, it is a reminder that as long as one person refuses to forget, no one is ever truly gone.